Greetings, beautiful soul, and welcome to my channel, The Optimist Hub. My name is Yanga. In today's video, I want to talk a bit about personal branding and personal mastery, specifically with regards to personal development, right? It's very important to be able to, one, identify, first of all, distinguish and then identify your own personal brand. In fact, your personal brand is what speaks for you in rooms that you're not in. Your personal brand is what distinguishes you from other people. Your personal brand is that unique thing about you that sets you apart from the rest. That's what personal branding is all about. And it is something that really makes room for you, right? But it is something that you need to actively work on. They often say that someone's reputation precedes them, right? I'm sure you've heard of that statement before. Essentially, that's what personal branding does as well, is it precedes you. It's what you are actually known for before people even encounter you. And so my question to you is, what is your personal branding? Do you have a personal brand? What is it about you that when your name comes up in rooms, that this is what they say about you? What is your legacy? Because I believe personal branding really is something that you establish, that you create, and something that is in the now, right? That will be there forever. This is what you're going to be known for forever, unless of course you actively change your brand, which you can, right? You can. We have free will, right? You can always change your mind. You can always change I don't know, whatever it is, right? You have the free will to change. But again, your personal brand is what speaks for you. What is it that you want to be known for? In fact, before we get to what is it that you want to be known for, what is it that you are known for now? Right? I'm not talking with regards to being rich and famous and, all of that, being in the limelight. No, I am talking about the work that you've been putting in, the seeds that you have been planting, right? Are they fruitful seeds, right? Are you a builder? Are you a restorer? Are you a healer? Are you a helper? What is it about you that distinguishes you from the rest? Right? It is something that you need to define for yourself. And I think in one of the videos that I made a couple of months ago, I spoke about the importance of defining success, right, for yourself. And I think that's also where personal branding stems from, because it's that definition of what success is for you that actually drives you to, doing the things that are in alignment with what that looks like, with what that feels like. Because in that video I said success truly is not only what you do, but it's also what you feel. And so again, when you define your own personal branding, what is it about you that you want people to not only know, but to also feel when your name comes up, when your presence is felt in the room, right? Do you want to be that individual that when you step into a room, your presence is felt, your light is radiating, your energy is vibrating at a high frequency, you are emitting positive vibes? Or do you want to be an individual that is known as a philanthropist, that is a helper? It could be anything, right? So what is it about you that not only you want to know for yourself as your own personal brand, but that other people need to know about you? It's very important to sit and define for yourself again. Yes, you can be inspired by someone else's personal brand, but it is very important that yours is true to who you are, right? You are your own unique blueprint. Yes, we have reference, like I said. We have other people to look at, to be inspired by. Also very important with defining your own personal brand is be inspired, do not imitate. Be authentic. I'm talking about authenticity here. It is very important to be authentic, be true to who you are, right? Again, your authenticity is what's going to set you apart. Your authenticity is what's going to define your personal brand. It's what's going to distinguish you from the rest of the people. Your authenticity is what's going to attract opportunities that are in alignment with your true self. It is very important that we live our truths, whatever that looks and feels like. Very important, because again, you are uniquely created, right, and designed. That's why it is important, like I said, to lean into the authenticity, to lean into your true version of self. Be inspired, do not imitate, because when you imitate, it's not going to land. When you imitate, you are deviating from what's truly your gift, your talent. You're not using it to its full potential because you are benchmarking it to someone else's. And so let us move away from wanting to imitate people's lives. Or I mean, look, I know, for example, there's this notion that says if you want to be successful and rich, you need to live and act like the rich. In other words, if they have a 5 a.m. routine, it literally has to look the same. So for example, if you want to study Oprah's 5 a.m. routine or morning routine, because you want to be as successful as Oprah, then you might want to emulate that. But I think it's very important to be mindful of the fact that if Oprah, for example, does Pilates, and Pilates is not your thing, you're more of a gym person or you're more of a yoga person as opposed to Pilates, you can improvise, right? That's where you are adding your flavor. That's why I'm saying, yes, be inspired. Use that as inspiration, but don't want to like copy and paste someone else's life, because as I've said in one of my videos as well, look, we might have similar dreams, similar visions, similar goals, but our paths are different because our journeys and backgrounds are different. Our journeys are uniquely designed by the higher power for us, because we all have different purposes and paths to walk on, purposes to fulfill, right? And so you cannot simply just want to copy and paste someone else's work or someone else's way of doing things or living. You still need to add a lot of you, not a bit of you, but a lot of you in the things that you do. I think it's very important with personal branding. We need to look at how you show up for yourself, right? How do you show up for yourself? Oftentimes we show up for people more than we do for ourselves. We are so willing, and I'm going to raise my hand because sometimes I'm very guilty of this as well. We are so willing to put our needs, our desires, our dreams in the back burner. And, you know, one, because we are afraid of being perceived, and I'll always mention this, the fear of perception is a disease that we ought to eradicate, right? Oftentimes we don't show up for ourselves because we are afraid of being seen trying. First of all, me doing this video, me having this YouTube channel is me trying. Is me stepping out of the fear of being perceived, right? Because at the end of the day, what matters more is the dream, is the vision that I have. It's not about this moment and how people see me. It's not about the people, right? The vision, the dream, the idea is about, first of all, the higher power, God, that has planted the seed within you, that is calling you to this dream, this vision, this idea, right? To bring it to life, because you have been called to be the portal, to be the vessel in which this dream, this vision, this idea needs to manifest itself through, right? And so that is the biggest, right? And number two, for yourself, we need to show up for ourselves. We need to make the inner child within us proud, right? I love childlike mentality, because kids are they dream big. They dream big. I remember this one time, one of the first careers that I ever wanted to do or to be was to actually be an astronaut. And I remember telling my mother, and she was very supportive. I told my dad, he was very supportive of the idea. I was still in primary school, pretty much a kid. At the time, again, just to give you an idea, being a kid, like having a childlike mindset, you know, kids don't see the limitations. They don't see the the obstacles, the challenges. They don't fear anything because, oh my gosh, can you imagine being in outer space? As much as there's a spaceship and all of that, and they testing the rockets and all of that, but anything can happen. When we've heard of cases where things have gone bad, right? People have died in space and all of that. But I didn't know of that. Sometimes also when you are a kid, I think when you are a child, ignorance is bliss because you don't know the dangers of whatever. And I think sometimes we need to lean into that. As much as now we are adults, we are aware of the dangers. We kind of need to work very hard to ignore all of that, to push all of that aside, because that is the fear that we need to eradicate, right? Because the fear of perception and the fear of trying and the fear of doing and the fear of being our most truest, authentic versions of self, the most highest versions of selves, the best versions of selves, is what's going to hold us back. And so we need to break free. So I remember going back to the story, telling my mom, and then, okay, things happened, time went on, and I wanted to be a lot of things, which I then ended up deciding to go and study BCom economics and econometrics, right? But I remember before I went to register for BCom econometrics and economics, I remember telling my mom, oh my goodness, I'm so scared. Like, what if I'm not going to do well? Because I also had this thing of perfectionism. I was a perfectionist. Because also excellence was a thing that I measured myself against. So if I was just scared that I was not going to do well in the course, which I ended up doing exceptionally great. But I wanted to change my course and do something else. And my mom was literally like, no, you're not changing your course. Because one, in this very moment, you want to be an economist. So go ahead and study economics. Don't be scared. Don't want to run away because it looks like it's going to be tough or difficult. You haven't even given it a shot, which I was ready to run because I hadn't given it a shot. I thought, from what I heard, oh, econometrics is so difficult. It's the hardest module you ever have to, and I was like, oh my God, I can't do hard. But my mom was like, you're not running away without even giving it a try. And she proceeded to remind me she said to me, what happened to that girl? What happened to that child who dreamed so big, who saw herself out of this world, literally saw herself out of this world in outer space as an astronaut? I need you to be in touch with her. I need you to connect with that younger version of self. I need you to not be fearful, be fearless like her. And I was just like, oh my God, that for me was profound in that moment. I was like, okay, cool. Which makes me reflect now, as I mentioned earlier, is having a childlike mindset where you are saying, okay, cool, look, as an adult, I'm aware that this is what could go wrong, but what if it's going to work out? What if it goes well? You know what I mean? So again, going back to my point, show up for yourself. Part of your personal branding is to show up for yourself. Keep the promises that you made, not only to the younger version or the inner child in you, but the promises that you've made now. Another point is, what is your goal? What is your vision? And I think I touched on this again earlier, is your goal, your vision is what, in fact, and the definition of what success is towards those goals and visions, or the fulfillment of those goals and visions, is what will also determine your personal brand. What is it that you want to be known for? And that is embedded in your goals and your dreams, because when you work towards them, when you bring them to life, that is what you're going to be known for. And we're not doing this for performative measures or whatever. We're not doing this for people. No, we're doing it for ourselves, right? We're doing it for ourselves, because at the end of the day, I want you and I to be known for the things that we need to what do they say? Faith without works is dead. You don't just want to be known as someone who dreamed and dreamed and dreamed without working towards it, because actually your personal brand is the work that you do. It's who you are. It's what you do. It's how you make people feel. Dare I say, it is your legacy. It's your footprint. It's your mark. What mark are you creating in the moment? And what mark do you want to leave behind? What legacy are you creating this very moment? And what legacy do you want to leave behind? I'm giving you homework. Please sit down with a journal or a piece of paper or a notebook, something, right? Sit down with self and identify. Before you identify, define, and then identify. How do you establish this personal branding? So first, define what personal branding means to you, what it is to you. And I think this exercise also requires self-awareness. Self-awareness is key, right? And it is something that is ongoing. One thing about self-awareness is it's a journey that is ongoing. It's not something that you start now and you say, okay, cool, I'm done with the 90-day self-awareness course. I'm done knowing myself. You're constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly changing, and so you ought to be in touch with self in the constant growing that is taking place, because we are always learning and unlearning, right? Well, when we open ourselves up to the process of learning and unlearning, then we are constantly evolving. And so self-awareness is a big part in basically being able to define what this personal brand is. And so if you need to start with that, start there. Practical way to initiate self-awareness is one, again, sit with yourself. Ask yourself questions. Could be anything from who are you? What are your values? What are your qualities? What is your character? Just anything and everything, right? Just get to know, date yourself. Take yourself on solo dates. Spend time, quality time with self. I think oftentimes most people tend to not want to be alone and with their thoughts, right? I think it's very important to allow yourself to just be alone with your thoughts and just ask these questions and sit with yourself. And if it's something that's deeper, that's more than what you can unearth, then perhaps go to therapy. And I would suggest you do, to have someone to help you at least start the journey. But otherwise, I hope I didn't digress a lot or too much. Hopefully this video was insightful and of value to you. And if it did, please do let me know down in the description box below. And if you did enjoy the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to this channel and you liked the tea that I served, no, if this content is your cup of tea and you'd like to indulge on more, please do consider hitting the subscribe button below and join the Optimist Hub. And with that said, beautiful soul, may goodness and grace lead you to greater heights of success. Namaste.